the Lifetime Achievement Award. We are very, very excited. When we came up with the Institute for Excellence in Sales, we were recognizing, again, corporations for organizational excellence, but we said, you know what, we really want to recognize one person each year who truly exemplifies a career spent in successful sales and business development, leadership, corporate development, et cetera. So last year's winner, again, was Rob Guerre. We were very pleased with that. The way this process worked is we had a committee of 10 people. We called for nominations. We came up with close to 30 nominations of people in the general community, Mid-Atlantic region, who have represented, again, a lifetime of achievement, great success, is known as the guy or lady who truly exemplifies sales or BD excellence. We then narrowed down that list, and eventually we came up with our winner, and it's been such an honor and a treat to recognize Jay, as we'll get to in a few minutes. Before we show a very, very special video, if you will, Neil wanted to say a couple of words in honor of Jay.
Thank you. They don't let me out very often. And when they do, the thought of dragging myself to Tyson's Corner in near rush hour traffic isn't very appealing. So it takes a lot to get me here this time of day. And what brings me here is just the chance to honor Jay. There's a lot of people in sales who are thought of as greats. And to me, many of them are just great self-publicists. Their record of achievement doesn't always parallel the reputation that they've built. Jay is the other way around. He's one of these people who many of you may never even have heard of him. And yet, I would say he is one of the true greats because he has the best record I know of someone who has actually made it happen. And in sales, that's the difficult thing. People like me can come and make great speeches about what you should do. That's the easy bit. It's the ones who actually make it happen. And Jay's record for that is unparalleled. And for me, it's a great honor to be here to meet him and shake his hand and be here for the award. Thank you. And thank you, Jay.
So before we bring up Rob to make his dedication to Jay, we have a very special treat. One of Jay's most esteemed proteges created a little video for us where he'd like to pay his treat to Jay in his life.
Thank you for a personal success that you've had. You've made sure that literally thousands of others have reached tremendous heights of their own as well. Congratulations, and God bless you.
Fabulous tribute, James Brown, of course. That was fabulous. At this time, I'd like to introduce Rob Guerre. Rob was our 2011 Lifetime Achievement Award winner, to present the award to Jay.
It's my chance to get even, Nuss. First, I want to welcome everybody to the Xerox Oracle annual reunion. You know, the first speaker today said, we've never recognized sales and business development before. And I looked at Charlie Hendig, I said, like one of my ex-wives used to say, what am I, chopped liver? I mean, last year it was me. So this is fun to nominate Jay, or to recognize Jay. I've known Jay since 1974, Nuss. 38 years we've been associated with one another. When we worked together at Xerox, he was in marketing and I was the finance guy. So we had our share of run-ins, as they would say. I created Jay's resource budget and his sales quota. And I did the best I could, because you know, here in Northern Virginia, the growth, you just couldn't get it high enough, and no matter how high I raised his quota, he always overachieved it. It was just incredible. He is the single best salesperson I've ever met in my life. He left Xerox and went to Oracle, where he and Kevin Fitzgerald grew Oracle from $60 million to $1.5 billion a year. And then, like everybody else, you can only take so much of Larry Ellison. And he moved on to Citigroup, where he and Kevin founded their federal organization that now accounts for over $600 million a year in revenue that Kevin continues to run. And then he decided he was going to try something he hadn't done before, and he and Bob LaRose started a company called Agilex, and I got to tell you, it's an incredible success story. Watching them grow from 30 to 60 to 80, and this year well over $100 million. But along the way, the most important part was their accolades aren't just for sales and revenue growth. It's for integrity and passion understanding the customer's mission, a passion in delivering high-quality services and high-quality solutions. I work with a lot of federal agencies, and there's a very influential CIO who once said to me, if I ever want to make sure I'm going to get something done and done right, I'm going to call an Agilex. So my friend Jay Nussbaum, congratulations, Nuss. It's all yours. See, I told you I had his resource plan.
Well, I know when I die, I'll have a good eulogy. Hopefully, I'll put it off for a while. So, I'm at a little disadvantage because of the time of the day. I usually am coming home at this hour. But nevertheless, I had 4 phone calls and 3 alarms set, and here I am. I had a wardrobe malfunction, so Reggie Brown, my dear friend, came in and said, that tie doesn't go, so he gave me his. A little short, but it works. Let me start with you, Rob. Good job. Did you ever have a quota? Okay. So I'd like you to do this. Come out to Infinity of Chantilly and watch a sale go down the way it ought to, because we took Neil Rackham's approach to selling, put it in the car business of Infinity, and we are the top customer satisfaction and second in sales, and we're all the way, on our way to greatness. And that's because Reggie Brown had this beautiful tower that I asked him to take down. Neil Rackham, it's an honor to be with you, because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. You might detect that. And the use of the English language was okay, but not great. And I went to this Leesburg training where they said, you're going to learn initial selling skills from Mr. Rackham. He sold us this. I said, he's great. What did it cost us to have this training? It was a fortune. But everybody went there, and he put out Xerox in those days put out so many great salespeople that are spread around the room in many different companies. And then he, like any good salesman, it wasn't good enough to have the first. He came out with Spin. And I'll never forget when I was asked to initiate Spin, I went out on a sales call, and they sit there and they mark. Am I correct? Yeah, good memory, huh? They marked down how many times you use the right approach. And we walked out, and the person said to me, Jay, you did pretty good, but don't you say anything except for the close? I said, why waste time? This stuff. Just get to the point. They know why you're there. But I do love the idea of being considered a salesperson. I know some people think that it's not as dignified, but I'm the proudest person in the world of being a salesperson. Why do I say that? Because I have no other skill. I want to thank the Institute for Sales and Business Development, and it's a vital thing for business. When Bob Guerra was at Xerox, he used to say, if your customers wouldn't call us, we can get our work done. And I said, well, Guerra, have you ever seen a customer? Then he gave out quotas, and I had to befriend him, and unfortunately it's lasted 35 years. So I do really want to thank all the customers and partners that I've worked with over this long haul. Without you, there is nothing, and Thank you for giving me your trust and your confidence. Just as important, the people that I've worked with for all these years, many of which are in the room, and I know if I dare say something, I'll leave one out, so I won't mention, but I appreciate everybody that's here and those who sent nice emails. There are two people that aren't here that are very important to me, and one was my lifetime partner and friend, Bob LaRose. When we set out, we said, why don't we work together? I said, well, Bob, I'm here at Xerox and you're at ATI. He said, yeah, but we should do that. Okay. I'm now at Oracle and he's at USI or in TGIC. And he said, why don't we work together? I said, well, that's 15 years later. You're saying the same thing. I'm in. 15 years later, after he did another remarkable job in TGIC, we looked at each other, he said, let's go. And we started out, there were three of us, myself, Carol, Scott, and Bob, and we had this dream of what we would be at Agilex. And I'll never forget Bob saying, you know, I didn't get into this to be 2 out of 3, Nussbaum. I said, don't worry about me. I'll fill up the first floor and the 4th floor. You fill up the 2nd and 3rd with me in business. He said, why are you always selling? You know the 1st floor is the reception, and the 2nd and 4th floor is where all the executives are. I said, well, that's the problem. We have too many executives, but I'm filling up my end of the bargain. And I just want him to know, because I know he smiles on us every day, we're living that dream. Agilex is the best work I've ever done, and I'm telling you, I love my days at Xerox, at Oracle, and all the other places that accepted me. The other partner that I wish was here was my wife. Didn't work like this in rehearsal. Who was my partner for 42 years. Lady was a remarkable person. She took this rough character and taught me some elegance, little of it absorbed, but I faked it. And for 42 years, we had a wonderful relationship, and she was very, very special to me, and I miss both Bob and Pat. My mom and dad, God bless them, they dealt with me. Growing up in Brooklyn, in our neighborhood, if you were either Jewish or Italian, so I had two names. It was Jay Nussbaum and Jay Finelli. And my father would say, what's this Finelli stuff? I said, well, Dad, you want to catch a beating? You told me. And so he would lecture me, and then he said, I went to the University of Maryland as well. Go Terps. And my first year I came home, I had straight C's, not one D, not one B or F, or A rather. And he said, I need to speak to you. Very serious guy. My mother, thank God, had the personality. And the combination of the two of them were awesome, so they double-teamed me, and they both said, you're not living up to your potential. I said, really? Well, what's the problem? He said, you got all C's. I said, yeah. Do you know how hard and smart you have to be to know when to stop? Stop studying and have some fun? They looked at each other and said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so I thank them for their great support. I wish they were here. They wouldn't believe this, but I know also they're watching over me. I took all that I had in my sales skills and whatever business management, and I tried to raise a son. It was near impossible using my sales skills. He never once listened. I couldn't close him on anything except for the keys to the car. I would hand to him a little money for gas, and he and his buddy, Harley, would go off to Ocean City at the ripe old age of 16, and I'd get these reports back, and my wife, Pat, would say, it's disgusting and despicable what they're doing. I said, honey, he's my son. But I do thank him. He's my best friend. And he's prolific. 5 grandkids. I said to him, hey, man, that's pretty good work, but you got to stop. I have no more money to give out. But he did his best selling because his wife, Meredith, is really my daughter that I never had. Fabulous, fabulous lady. And the two of them have given me great happiness. I realized early that selling is the name of the game. When I went to Xerox, the place was overmanaged and underled. Charlie Kindig, a friend of mine, had all the accounts receivable in Philadelphia, and he would call me and he'd say, I'm coming down, the 3 worst accounts for accounts receivable are all yours. I said, well, I must be doing something right. And so he came down there with all this bureaucratic stuff. But, you know, he and Guerra and that whole administrative team, I kept them in business. So for that, I appreciate their support and help. So I took this idea of, at Xerox, we led the world in selling and service and customer sat, as Neil said. We really took serious the training. And one day, Dave Kearns, God bless him, said to me, I'm sending down 3 psychiatrists. It was a true story. I said, well, what do I want with psychiatrists? They want to talk to you. I said, oh my God, this is going to be trouble. So they came into my office, and we had the offices in Roslyn right overlooking the Iwo Jima Memorial there. And it was a Tuesday morning when the Marines come in and they practice. So I opened the door so they'd hear the marching stuff and maybe get rid of them to go down there and look at it. And so they came in and they said, look, Jay, we understand that you guys are the best in the nation. Everybody looks to you. You have so many people that have come from your organization and gone on to run other big things at Xerox. What is your secret? I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, well, I believe in the golden rule. And do unto others as you'd want them to do to you, close to that. And they said, come on, we got work to do. We can't use something that simple. So I bullshitted them for a while. And Kearns called me back and he said, what did you do to these guys? They are so confused. I said, well, they ought to see a psychiatrist. So I just wanted to say, you might have gotten your, Rob, your inspiration from Johnny Cash. I got mine from History of the World, when Mel Brooks was online. And B. Arthur was there, and she said, and on the unemployment line, and she said to him, and what do you do? He said, I'm a stand-up philosopher. He said, so you're a, pardon my language, you're a bullshitter? Did you bullshit yesterday? No. Did you bullshit today? No. She gave him his money. So with that, I said, hey, if you get paid to bullshit, that's my gig. Well, I refined myself over time, and I did write down these guiding principles. I just want to leave them with you that have served me pretty well. One, I realized early, you got to teach people, you can't tell them. And I've spent a lot of time trying to teach and lead by example. You got to communicate a simple vision. If you can't communicate it, you might as well you're wasting your trying to implement it. Never, ever, ever, ever compromise on your values. When I went to Oracle, they tested me to the brink. I went to Kevin Fitzgerald. I said, Kevin, this place is like the Wild West. He said, yeah, and we're very proud of that. I said, okay, well, we got to keep the guns in their holster, though. They're shooting at me. But we never compromised. We created greatness, and that was probably my finest hours. We took a company that was not well respected to great respectability. The people that sit in this room, they run other big companies, and it's phenomenal what came out of that world. Also, I think you got to have a sense of humor, even when a joke is on you. You have to hire awesome people, and then just trust them, and I promise you they won't let you down. You got to accept blame when things go wrong. Stand up and take it. God knows. We did that at Oracle. One day I came home, my wife said, you must have had a great end of the quarter. I said, really, why? She said, Larry Ellison called, Ray Lane called, and Jeff Henley called. I said, oh my God. Obviously, it wasn't a great quarter. So I stood in front of the board, and Kevin smiled. He said, thanks, Jay. But no, he and I, back to back, we did a wonderful job, keeping them out of our hair. We created this world called government for Oracle, and they are the very finest sales organization that I've ever been associated with. And then you got to set reasonable goals. People argue with me all the time that the goal's too high, the goal's too high, the goal's too high. And they cannot weaken me on this because I don't think the goal is high enough. And so you've got to make people come up to your level of thinking, not to drop down to theirs. And when they deliver, you pay on performance and you pay real well. And you, oh, gee. And not just on effort. And then finally, you got to be humble. And it's an asset, not a liability. And therefore, I humbly, humbly accept this beautiful award. Thank you very much for being a part of my life.
One more time for Jay Nussbaum, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Well, a couple good things we want to thank. Again, Jay, we want to thank Carol for helping us get that wonderful video.